Flacco and Shedger side by side, veteran and rookie, mentor and student. Flacco telling war stories, Shedger nodding, absorbing, learning. On the surface, it was wholesome, the kind of image coaches love to promote. But underneath, there's a philosophical fault line. Flacco is the embodiment of the old NFL. Reserved, traditional, keep your head down, avoid disruption. His brand is that he doesn't have a brand. He even quipped, adults should have fun in private, when Shadir teased him for dancing on camera. Translation, if you want to be respected, act like me. But Shadir, he's the new NFL incarnate. Streaming, merchandising, interacting with fans in real time. His generation watched Mahomes win championships and post TikToks. For them, authenticity isn't a bonus, it's the baseline. So when you place those two worldviews in the same quarterback room, there's bound to be friction. Not shouting, but subtle tensions. Flacco rolls his eyes at social media questions. Shadur shrugs, because the camera's always been there, and coaches, many of whom relate more to Flacco's era, gravitate toward what they know. They understand Flacco. Shadur, he's the wild card, even though, let's be real, he's been spotless in the public eye. Still, that quiet bias, that fear of what's unfamiliar, it seeps into the evaluations, into the snap counts, into the narratives we hear about who's earned what. Browns Nation, if you're a diehard fan who lives for dissecting every snap, every scheme, and every shocking twist in the game, smash that subscribe button and tap the bell so you never miss a blitz. Because right now, the NFL rumor mill is on fire. And at the center of it all, a name that just won't go away, Joe Flacco. According to insiders close to the situation, and yes, we're still wading in the waters of speculation, it appears the Cleveland Browns may have quietly orchestrated one of the most jaw-dropping quarterback moves in recent memory. That's right, the same Joe Flacco who emerged from obscurity last season and engineered a miraculous playoff surge might be on the move. It's the kind of whisper that rattles locker rooms, stirs front offices, and sends shockwaves across the league. So what's really going down in Berea, and if the rumors are true, where is Flacco headed next? Let's peel back the layers. First, the cloak and dagger nature of this alleged trade is suspiciously airtight. League chatter is heating up, and many believe the Browns have been in stealth negotiations with a mystery AFC team for weeks. In today's leak-heavy media landscape, for a deal of this size to stay hidden, that's rare. But apparently, both franchises have chosen silence, possibly to avoid shaking the roster or fan base mid-off-season. The Browns have issued no formal statement, and Flacco's camp, completely silent. And sometimes silence isn't empty. Sometimes it's loaded. Let's rewind. Joe Flacco wasn't even supposed to matter last year. Signed mid-season, when the Browns were ravaged by quarterback turmoil, he was seen as a placeholder, a bridge, maybe even a ghost of the past. But what happened next? Straight out of a Hollywood script. The former Super Bowl MVP looked reborn. Zip-in throws into tight windows, commanding the huddle and igniting chemistry with his receivers like he'd worn brown and orange his entire career. Cleveland embraced him. His name echoed in stadiums. Analysts hailed it a renaissance. Players rallied behind him. So why would the Browns consider trading a man who became the face of their unexpected resurgence? That's the multi-million-dollar question, or perhaps more accurately, the cap space calculus. Here's the hard truth. Despite Flacco's late-season magic, the Browns are still financially tethered to Deshaun Watson, the man the front office anointed as their long-term answer. Trading Flacco now, while his market value is at its highest since his Baltimore prime, could be a cold, calculated chess move, a way to acquire draft capital, address other needs, and avoid a quarterback controversy that could derail the locker room before it even begins. And now comes the potential plot twist. Multiple league executives, speaking under the veil of anonymity, have hinted at the unthinkable, that Flacco's next stop could be Pittsburgh. That Pittsburgh, a move to the Browns' fiercest rival, the Steelers, would detonate the AFC North hierarchy and dominate headlines. Imagine Flacco in black and gold. All right, let me level with you. There's a conversation that's not getting nearly enough airtime. Shedger Sanders isn't just battling for a roster spot with the Cleveland Browns. No. What he's really confronting is the entrenched culture of the NFL, a system still baffled by a swagger it can't control. I've been paying close attention, and what Sanders is showcasing at mini camp, it's not just promising, it's elite-level execution. We're talking 41 completions on 51 attempts, 9 touchdowns, just a single interception, and an outrageous 77% completion rate over 5 open MHA sessions. That's not your average rookie showing. That's the type of performance that should have every NFL front office scrambling for film and reevaluating. Now here's the kicker. He was a 5th-round selection. Most analysts couldn't wait to brand him as arrogant, flashy, overconfident. Some even compared his arm strength to Drew Brees in his twilight years. But let's be real. If those exact numbers belonged to a first-rounder from Alabama or Ohio State, he'd already be hailed as the next franchise messiah. ESPN would be running highlight reels on loop. Yet with Shadur, silence. Maybe a faint nod to his work ethic before pivoting to Deion Gabriel's progress or Joe Flacco's leadership. And that raises a serious question. Why the double standard? The answer is hiding in plain sight. His last name is Sanders. His father, that Sanders, Deion Primetime, the Hall of Famer who didn't just play the game, he reshaped it. Deion didn't just suit up, he shifted the cultural gravity of the NFL, infusing it with unapologetic confidence, and now he's doing it again in Colorado, streaming, leading, confronting the entire collegiate system head-on. So naturally, when his son walks into Cleveland with that same steel-plated self-assurance, the league doesn't know how to react. They won't say it outright, but you can feel it. They'll compliment Shedur's footwork, praise his film study, but the real reps, the first-team snaps, they're still locked behind glass like family heirlooms. Coaches are defaulting to safe bets while Shedur's left managing second and third string rotations. And that leads to the real question. If Shadur Sanders had a different last name, if he weren't the son of football's most polarizing icon, would the Browns already be shaping him into the franchise's future? The scats scream yes. The tape confirms it. Even Kevin Stefanski can't help but gush. But the depth chart? It still whispers, not yet. The league? Comfortable dragging its feet. But reckonings don't vanish, they build pressure. Until they break through, every laser Shadur launches in Berea inches us closer to that reckoning, where raw, undeniable talent collides with outdated narratives and institutional inertia. Let's break down those numbers. 77% completion in practice, that's not just shock, it's absurd. Training camp sessions are chaotic, receivers rotating, playbooks shifting, unpredictable scripts. Rookies usually hover near 60% while trying to process the language of the league. Veterans often miss more than fans realize, but Shadur, he's not just surviving, he's commanding. And those 9 touchdowns, that's surgical work. These aren't checkdowns or gimmies. He's dropping red zone darts, threading 30-yard throws, lofting precision touch passes over defenders, multiple reads, complex concepts, elite-level ball placement. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel's hovering in the high 50s with 3 interceptions. Kenny Pickett, playing it safe. Flacco? When the pocket collapses, so does he. Statistically, Shadur Sanders is the best quarterback on the field right now, so why isn't anyone saying it out loud? Because admitting it would mean confronting the fact that they got the draft narrative wrong, that all the critiques about anticipation or the gimmicky Colorado system were off base, and some people in this league, they're still not ready to admit that Deion Sanders might have been right again. But here's the thing. Numbers don't lie. They don't care about legacy, politics, or perception. They are what they are. And every time a beat reporter tweets out another eye-popping stat, the silence surrounding Shadur feels less like caution and more like denial. And denial, it has an expiration date. If this kid keeps stacking 77% days, it won't matter how far down the depth chart you bury him. Truth finds daylight. And when it does, it incinerates every excuse. Now let's be fair. This isn't a knock on Joe Flacco, a veteran warrior with playoff pedigree, walking into Heinz Field with a chip on his shoulder and something to prove. It would be nothing short of seismic. But what if it's all a smokescreen? Some believe the Browns may have leaked this info strategically, a savvy front office play to stir interest and drive up the price. If teams like the Titans, Raiders, or Patriots catch wind that a rival is circling Flacco, a bidding war might erupt. This wouldn't be the first time a GM used the media as a chess piece. And behind the scenes, the Browns might be working the phones harder than we realize. But this story isn't just about front office maneuvering. It's about a man, Joe Flacco, and the crossroads he's facing. He's seen it all. Franchise quarterback, journeyman backup, and last season, a resurrected legend. In Cleveland, he found respect, rhythm, and redemption. He connected with the staff, he inspired the fans, he brought stability to chaos. Would he even want to leave? If another team offers him a guaranteed starting role, real snaps, and a legitimate playoff shot, you can bet Flacco's listening. He knows how brief the window is for a quarterback in his late 30s. He's not just playing for a job, he's playing for legacy. But let's not forget the emotional fallout this could trigger in Cleveland. Flacco jerseys flew off the shelves. His comeback became a city-wide rallying cry. If this move goes down, and if it's done in secrecy, some fans will see it as betrayal, and the Browns front office better be ready with airtight messaging. This is about the future, not about disrespect, because NFL greatness requires boldness, vision, tough decisions. If Cleveland truly believes Flacco's trade value has peaked, and that Watson is still their cornerstone, then this might be the smartest move they could make. Not personal, just business. Still, there's one haunting possibility, that Flacco goes elsewhere and lights it up, proving Cleveland gave up on a winner. So where does that leave us? Right here, in the middle of a firestorm of whispers, leaks, and endless speculation. Whether this turns into a league-altering blockbuster or vanishes like smoke in the wind, one thing's for sure. Joe Flacco is back in the spotlight, and this story is far from over. Thanks for riding with us on another edition of Browns Blitz. If you enjoyed the deep dive, hit that like button, share it with a fellow Dawg Pound diehard, and subscribe so you never miss the next wave of breaking drama. But the suits hated the independents. Dion answered to no one. Fast forward to 2025, Prime 2 is here. His son, same swag, but now fused with social savvy, branding fluency, and NIL instincts that make old-school endorsements look like antiques. Some NFL executives see potential. Others see a threat to the hierarchy. But here's what they can't deny. You can't bury brilliance. Because if Shedeur Sanders succeeds, he rewrites the rules. Suddenly, rookies won't just want signing bonuses. They'll want content clauses in their contracts, personal videographers at team facilities, freedom to post locker room highlights, and creative autonomy the NFL has never had to reckon with. And that kind of player-driven empowerment, it terrifies the old guard. Stephen A. Smith said it plainly. They couldn't silence Dion, so now they're trying to silence his son. The league doesn't want a quarterback who understands his worth before they can assign a price tag. And let's not pretend race is part of this equation. The NFL celebrates black excellence, but only when it fits a familiar mold. Polished, corporate, and reserved, that's the Russell Wilson archetype. But Dion, loud, radiant, and untamed. And Shedeur, he's inherited that unapologetic flame. He doesn't hide his shine. He embraces it. He posts highlight edits, retweets fan memes, flaunts luxury watches. Not because he's arrogant, but because he knows exactly who he is. That confidence isn't unethical. It's just loud. And in boardrooms built on hushed control, that loudness rattles walls. Then comes the pedigree dilemma. Some scouts dismiss him outright as Dion's son. They whisper nepotism while conveniently overlooking the late-night film sessions, the precision footwork, the NFL-level mechanics broadcast weekly from Colorado. They don't see a 23-year-old quarterback thriving under pressure. They see a shadow of a legend. And until recently, those critics had an excuse. Sure, he dominated at an HBCU, but let's see him do it in the Power 5. Then he did that. Okay, but can he do it in the NFL? Well, minicamp is here, and the kid is still slicing defenses apart. So now what? Either the league pivots and acknowledges the obvious, or it doubles down on its doubts and hopes that preseason exposes him. But that's a risky wager, because every dime Shedeur drops in August will go viral. Dion will post it, fans will meme it, analysts will dissect it, and the longer the NFL drags its heels, the more it reeks not of caution, but of fear. If Shedeur seizes QB2 or QB1 by September, the NFL landscape tilts. Suddenly, teams aren't just scouting tape, they're evaluating charisma, brand equity, and audience influence. NIL stars start rising up draft boards. Marketing departments begin begging for rookies with built-in followings. But if Cleveland buries him, it'll be seen for what it is, fear masquerading as patience, and the fallout will be brutal. The headlines won't be about development. They'll say the Browns chose comfort over capability, and other GMs. They'll start circling. They'll call Andrew Berry and say, "What would it take to see Sanders in our jersey?" Picture this. Shedeur lighting up MetLife in a Giants uniform, commanding Sean Payton's offense in Denver, while Cleveland drifts into mediocrity. The fans? They'll remember, and they'll roast this franchise for years. Because the NFL doesn't just sell competition, it sells hope. And Shedeur Sanders is hope. He's energy. He's future. He's what fans believe in. If the Browns fumble this moment, it won't just be a football misstep. It'll be a PR catastrophe, the kind that echoes for decades, like when Chicago passed on Mahomes, and the league watched history rewrite itself. And if the league tries to muzzle Shedeur, Dion won't bite his tongue. He'll go live on ESPN, he'll drop receipts on Pat McAfee, he'll tweet from the sidelines and rally an army, he'll make sure the entire nation knows exactly what's happening behind the curtain. Because once the public senses a star being buried for daring to shine, even neutral fans will rally behind him. So what should Cleveland do? Simple. Lean into the merit. Make it a true competition. Count every rep. Film the scrimmages. Let the world watch. Because transparency kills conspiracy, but here's the catch. Doing that takes guts. Because if Shedeur outperforms the veterans on a live stream, you can't ignore it. You have to give him the job. And that, right there, is the heartbeat of this entire saga. The Shedeur Sanders story isn't just about a promising rookie. It's a referendum on what the modern NFL really values. Are we rewarding performance or protecting egos? Are we building a league that champions undeniable talent, or are we punishing players who don't fit the mold? Because here's what I see. Shedeur isn't generating buzz because of his last name. He's earning it through throws, through reads, through the commanding presence he brings every day in camp. And the Browns, they have a decision to make. They can cling to the tired narrative, or they can respond to what's unfolding on the field. Because if they bench him, they lose more than a quarterback. They lose the trust of the fans, the locker room, and the future. Has he been underestimated, or are the doubts justified? Let us know what you would do if you were in Kevin Stefanski's shoes. And if you want more exclusive, behind-the-scenes content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. There's always that one pivotal moment, subtle, silent, that transforms the entire atmosphere of a fan base. It's not always a blockbuster trade or a fiery press conference meltdown. Sometimes it's a single digital action. While fans roar over highlight reel plays on Sundays, it's often in the shadows of the locker room where the real narrative begins, especially when the presumed cornerstone of a franchise suddenly steps into the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. On an unassuming Thursday, defensive lineman Ogbo Okoronkwo made a move that seemed trivial. He double-tapped a post on Instagram. Yet in the realm of professional sports, even a simple like can carry the weight of a headline. The post in question? It criticized Myles Garrett's absence from Browns OTAs, subtly questioning his commitment to leadership. Now, Ogbo and Garrett aren't strangers, they're teammates, and this wasn't some random fan's hot take. It echoed sentiments reportedly shared by several within the Browns' inner circle. A small gesture, but in today's social media world, even the tiniest spark can ignite a wildfire, especially when it comes to locker room intrigue. The post Ogbo engaged with pulled no punches, spotlighting Garrett's choice to skip OTAs for a trip to Japan with Olympic snowboarder Chloe Kim. The timing, more than anything, raised eyebrows, especially after his lucrative $160 million 0-cents extension, designed not just to cement his on-field dominance, but to solidify his role as a team leader. The caption leaned into that narrative, quoting ESPN's Nick Pace, who bluntly questioned whether Garrett was truly the defensive leader the Browns so desperately need. In a team craving stability, those kinds of questions can hit harder than a blindside sack. What makes this moment feel even more charged is that, allegedly, this isn't the first time Garrett has been, shall we say, fashionably late. Whispers of him skipping mandatory team activities or rolling into the facility on his own schedule have circulated before, never fully confirmed, rarely denied. So here's the question. Does leadership demand constant presence and accountability, or is on-field performance enough? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear your take on this unfolding drama. And hey, if you love getting the raw, unfiltered truth about your team with no sugarcoating, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. So hit that like button now and join me as I unveil every detail. Just when Browns fans thought the offseason would settle, everything flipped on its head during OTA sessions, and it's no longer just about Deshaun Watson's lingering injuries. The quarterback landscape in Berea now looks more like a collegiate all-star showcase than a conventional NFL depth chart. At the heart of this storm sits Joe Flacco, 40 years old, all business, speaking like he's already claimed the throne. And you know what? He just might be right. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. There's a lot to unravel, and trust me, you'll want to hear every bit of it. This is no ordinary quarterback battle. The Browns now boast Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders, each with a completely distinct background, style, and narrative. The leadership knew it had to move swiftly after Watson's latest setback, so they didn't hedge their bets. They went all in, adding 2 proven veterans and drafting 2 promising rookies in a single offseason. It's either going to be a masterclass in roster construction or the kind of high-stakes gamble that defines or derails seasons. But if you ask Joe Flacco, he's got no doubts about the outcome. "I'm going to win this job," he declared to Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer. Just like that. 17 seasons in the league, a Super Bowl ring, and Flacco still speaks like a rookie with something to prove. But it's not empty bravado, it's conviction. And that conviction is resonating throughout the locker room. Flacco's message isn't just about confidence, it's laced with a keen self-awareness. Thank you, everything.